Hey guys, and welcome back. Today I am finally getting to my sunscreen video. This is going to be part one. I have a lot of information and then I'm going to be doing some testing in part two, so I wanted to break it up, and I'm not ready for part two yet. I've got lots that still has to be done. First of all, I would like to say that I am not an expert, I am not a doctor, I am not a scientist of any kind. I've just done a lot of research on this. I have lots and lots of notes on this, and I feel like I have a general grasp of these concepts. I think that there's still so much more to learn about sunscreen and protecting your skin, but this is, of the current information we have right now, this is going to be kind of an overview of everything sunscreen related. So I'm going to put timestamps in the description box of when each of these categories start. So if you don't want to watch the whole thing, I totally get it. It's going to be pretty long. Lincoln is sitting in his high chair eating, so hopefully he'll be quiet and I can talk quickly. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to let you know the topics I'm going to cover, and then I'm going to break down into those. Also, I will leave in the description box some of the sources of the information, you know, where I got this information. There's a few YouTubers I watch, but a lot of it I've researched on the internet. Verywellhealth.com has a lot of good information on sunscreen use, so, but I will leave that in the description box. All right, things I'm going to cover. First of all, what does the sun actually do to your skin, and why do you even need sunscreen? Second, the difference between UVA, B, and C rays. Third, I'm going to cover what is SPF, how is it calculated, and what does this actually mean in practical use in sunscreen. Then I'm going to cover UVA protection, how to know which sunscreens actually have UVA protection, and what that means. Then I'm going to cover, very important, how to properly apply sunscreen, how much you are supposed to apply, and all of that jazz, how to apply it. Then I'm going to cover chemical versus physical sunscreens. They're also called inorganic and organic, but I'm going to say physical and chemical for this video because most people know those terms. And I'll talk about the pros and cons of each of those. Then I'm going to talk about picking a sunscreen best for you. So all the factors that need to go into choosing your sunscreen ingredients, skin type, all of that. And then at the very end, I'm going to cover a couple of topics that kind of go along with this. I'm going to talk about two recent studies or controversies over sunscreen. One would be sunscreen getting into the bloodstream, and then also sunscreen bleaching the coral reefs in Hawaii, and then banning certain ingredients. I will cover that at the very end, so if you are interested, stay for the whole thing. Okay, so that's everything I'm going to be covering, and now we're going to dive into each of these topics. So first of all, what does sun even do to your skin, and why do you need sunscreen? So there are several things that the sun actually does to your skin. I'm going to mainly talk about the three main ones. Obviously, it can burn your skin, it can cause skin cancer, and it can cause premature aging. Those are the main three things that UV radiation does to your skin. Some other things that it can do, it also can weaken your immune system, which I did not realize. And then it can also damage your eyes, it'll damage the retina, and it also factors in developing cataracts. So I'm going to read this part because I want to make sure I say everything correctly, but I think people's main concerns for wearing a daily SPF is skin cancer and aging. I think honestly most of it's anti-aging. So I'm gonna read this. This is how, a little fraction of how the UVA can break down collagen and all the other stuff, nasty stuff that it does. UV radiation is a creator of free radicals. Free radicals are the unstable oxygen molecules that have only one electron instead of two. Because electrons are found in pairs, the molecule must scavenge its missing electron from other molecules, causing a chain reaction that can damage cells at a molecular level. Free radicals not only increase the number of enzymes that break down collagen, they can alter cells' genetic material in a way that can lead to cancer. It breaks down collagen, but in addition, the UV actually damages your skin cells, and if your skin cannot repair that, it actually kills, your body actually kills those skin cells in a way to help prevent cancer. So if like a cell is damaged that's going to lead to cancer, your body will try to kill that skin cell. So the UV damage is killing skin cells. Can I say skin cells another time? But if it can't, this is what leads to cancer, is they mutate. It's really like scientific-y, but whatever. Let's just say it ages your skin and can cause skin cancer. We all know this. Okay, moving along. What is the difference between UVA, UVB, and UVC rays? You've probably heard about these different rays: A, aging; B, burning, and then UVC rays don't actually make it to the Earth's surface. The ozone filters all of that out. So UVA rays are between 320, I think it's nanometers, to 400, I don't know, here, I'm gonna put it right here. But they age the skin and they can cause damage to the DNA of your skin. The UVA rays cause long-term damage. You don't feel it right away like the UVB rays. So you can be causing damage to your skin without feeling it. They're called the silent killers. And UVA also can come in through windows as well. It penetrates deeper into the skin. In addition, UVA rays are actually present anytime the sun is out. As soon as the sun's up to the time the sun goes down, there are UVA rays present, and it's just constantly aging your skin. UVB rays are from 290 to 320. UVA and B can damage the skin cells and cause skin cancer. They both play a role in skin cancer. If skin cancer is your main concern, then you need a sunscreen that covers both of those. But the ozone actually filters out a lot of UVB rays. Only a small percentage of them actually make it to the Earth's surface. There's a lot more UVA than UVB rays. UVB rays are more intense in different positions on the Earth. You can actually go online and look up the UV index for where you are. But in addition, the UVB rays are more intense from 10 to 4, as opposed to UVA all day long. So again, UVB rays burn the skin and then also contribute to skin cancer mutations. Does that make sense? Alright guys, what is SPF and how is it calculated? SPF rating was introduced in 1974. It's a measure of the fraction of sunburn producing UV rays that reach the skin. So SPF only pertains to UVB rays. I'm going to say that again. SPF only pertains to UVB rays. This has nothing to do with UVA. So if it's an SPF, whatever number, it's only talking about the UVB rays. I want you to know that. Okay, the SPF is the fraction of UVB rays that reach the skin. So if you have an SPF 15, only 1/15 of the UVB rays will reach the skin. Here's some math for you. I hate math, but here's some math for you. So at SPF 15, 93% of the rays are blocked. So this is where most people explain SPF as the number of SPF times 10 minutes in the sun is the number of minutes you can be out before your skin burns. So that is correct, but that is like a simplified version of it. Daniel had to explain this to me several times last night, so let me see if I can explain it to you. So if 1/15 of those rays are reaching the skin, it's gonna take longer for the skin to burn, yes? So it's gonna take 15 times longer for the skin to burn. Let's take SPF 50 for instance. SPF 50 means 1/50 of those UVB rays are reaching your skin. So 98% of the UVB rays are being filtered out or blocked, depending on the type of sunscreen. So to calculate the recommended number of minutes before applying, SPF 50 times 10 minutes would be 500 minutes before reapplying. So the 10 minutes part is their general standard of how long the skin takes to burn. Now depending on your skin color, the melanin in your skin, you can take less or more time, but the industry standard is just 10 minutes. So say I burn in 10 minutes, I would calculate it as SPF 50 times 10 minutes. If you are extremely dark and you don't burn for like 20 minutes, then it would be SPF 50 times 20 minutes, and that's how many minutes that this should protect you from burning. But I'm gonna say that none of that matters because you have to reapply after 2 hours anyways. The only difference that you're going to have between your SPF 30, 50, 100 is the percentage that it's blocking out. So I hope I'm making sense so far. So SPF 30 blocks out 96% of the UVB rays. SPF 50 blocks 98% and SPF 100 blocks a 99%. So what does this mean when you're looking for an SPF? We're gonna get into the proper way to apply it, and this is gonna tie in with the SPF in a second. But according to these, you should be able to be out in the sun longer with a higher SPF. We're gonna get to that more in a second. Okay, I'm gonna pause on the SPF and we're gonna go on to the next subject. UVA protection, because SPF, again, does not talk about UVA protection at all. Okay, so UVA is, only fairly recently we've discovered that UVA is a problem, that it causes the aging, like 90, I don't know what the actual percentage is, but like a huge percentage of aging or wrinkles, sagging is actually just damage from the sun. So, all right, we're gonna talk about how to figure out if your sunscreen has UVA protection. Well, in the US, there's no indicator of UVA protection except the word broad spectrum. So broad spectrum just means that it has UVA protection in it. It doesn't indicate how much protection of UVA there is. There are certain ingredients that are known to protect against UVA, so you can look for those in your ingredient list in your sunscreens. But in US sunscreens, that is really the only way to know. The concentrations of those ingredients affect the protection from UVA. So again, you can't really know for sure how much protection you're getting. Looking at the ingredients will help. So there is a PA rating system, and this was developed in Japan, and it's actually based off the PPD rating, which there's some more math behind that, but we're gonna skip that. So there's PA plus to PA plus 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 plus. So 4 pluses. And literally this is the rating system. So PA plus is some, plus plus, moderate, high, and extremely high. So obviously the higher the pluses, the more protection you get. And again, these are in Japanese. These are in sunscreens in, like, I know Korean sunscreens. I think some European sunscreens have these ratings too. I don't know. I just know it's developed in Japan. But the US has no rating system for UVA. They're far behind in sunscreen development and sunscreen ingredients. So I'm gonna talk about those ingredients that you can look for UVA protection when I get to the ingredients. But next, I'm gonna talk about how to properly apply the sunscreen. So now you know what your SPF is, what it does, but did you know that you don't actually reach that SPF on the bottle unless you apply a very scientific, specific amount? When they test a sunscreen for the SPF, they apply a certain amount, and that amount is 2 milligrams per square centimeter of skin. So if you do not apply that exact amount, you will not reach the SPF on the bottle. You with me? We have calculated, my husband and I, mostly he's doing the math. I don't do math. Don't trust me with math. Trust him with math. Anyways, we've calculated the approximate surface of a typical face. Now that's gonna vary based on your head size. So I'm gonna say approximate for all of this, okay? So the approximate face surface and how many milligrams that was, and then we had to convert it into teaspoons, so it's a measurement we can actually figure out. So we ended up having to weigh the sunscreen on a digital scale to convert that. But anyways, the proper amount for an average face, approximate amount, is 1/6 of a teaspoon. Now I've heard a lot of people saying 1/4 of a teaspoon, so I'm just gonna say a fourth, a quarter, just to cover it. And you should be putting sunscreen on your neck as well. So again, the 1/6 of a teaspoon is just the face. So I'd say 1/4 of a teaspoon, face and neck, you should be good. But again, I'm not gonna tell you that's all scientific fact. This is just what we figured out. I don't know if you know what a 1/4 teaspoon actually looks like when it comes to sunscreen, but I'm gonna put in a clip right here of me measuring out the sunscreen into a 1/4 teaspoon and putting this on my face. It is a lot more than you think. It is so much that it's really difficult to put makeup on top of. You have to let it soak in for a very long time before you can get to the makeup part. So it's a lot of sunscreen. Completely forgot this. I needed to mention this. So a lot of people ask if the SPF in their makeup is enough. No, no, no. It is not. My reason is, I was telling you earlier that if you do not apply the proper amount, you don't get the SPF on the bottle. So to put a 1/4 teaspoon of foundation on your face, I'm gonna show you what that looks like too. Insert clip right here. There's no way you can put that much foundation on your face to get the proper amount of SPF and actually go out in public. It's pretty insane. Let's go back to the SPF. Okay, so if you have an SPF 30 and you're not putting that appropriate amount on, you could be only getting SPF 5. So yes, 30 is enough if you apply it properly. But again, in my opinion, I think that if you use a 50 and end up at 15 or 30 because you're not applying it properly, because most people don't, it's really, really difficult to get the appropriate amount of sunscreen on your face. Very hard. So I think with a higher SPF because you have a higher chance of actually getting an SPF that will sufficiently protect your skin. Does that make sense? SPF numbers and how long you can wear it on your skin. Say you have an SPF 50 and that means 500 minutes. That doesn't actually mean that you don't need to reapply. Sunscreens break down and wear off, and so the only reason I'd say wear a higher SPF is to get more coverage because you're not putting enough on. But that doesn't mean you don't need to reapply. I'm going to talk about reapplying over makeup and all that jazz in a minute. Whew, can we take a break? Okay, I'm back. All right, so we're gonna talk about chemical versus physical. This is a huge topic, chemical versus physical. So what is that? A lot of people know now what they are, but I'm going to let you know. Chemical sunscreens, they absorb into the skin, and as the UV rays hit the skin, the sunscreen absorbs those UV rays and then is dispersed as heat. So it changes that UV ray into heat. If you're wearing a chemical sunscreen and you're out in the sun, you feel your face being warmer than you would think, it's because that's actually the sunscreen turning that into heat. Physical sunscreens reflect or deflect UV rays off of your face. So physical sunscreens don't soak into the skin. They sit on the skin and they bounce off the UV instead of absorbing. Okay, we're going to talk about some pros and cons of both because there are pros and cons to both. So chemical sunscreens, the pros, they soak into the skin and they are a lot easier to wear with makeup since they do actually absorb into the skin, and also they do not leave a white cast. So if you have a deeper skin tone, a chemical sunscreen might be a little bit more appealing to you because you don't want to look like a ghost. On me, I'm already white as paper, so it really doesn't matter to me. The cons for chemical sunscreens, there are some cons. Are you ready for this? Since it does absorb into the skin, it can irritate the skin. So if you have very sensitive skin, it can irritate your skin. For me, there's actually some, I don't know which ingredients yet, but there are some that burn my skin and burn like around the eyes, and sometimes I have dry patches, it burns. So chemical sunscreen can irritate your skin. Also, chemical sunscreens, the ingredients in them break down easily. So I'm going to talk about specific ingredients in a minute, but there are some that break down as soon as they are exposed to light. They start breaking down, and so they're not as stable, and the shelf life of the actual bottle of sunscreen is shorter. Also, some of the ingredients are believed to be dangerous to the environment. There's a study about them getting into the bloodstream, which we're going to talk about later. And then the last con is chemical sunscreens you have to put on and let them soak in for 20 minutes before going into the sun because they are not effective until they have soaked into the skin. Physical sunscreens, pros. Better for sensitive skin, more people can use them, they're safe for babies. The ingredients are more stable. They're generally a more moisturizing formula because they're thicker, they're heavier. So if you have dry skin, you might like a physical. They are effective right away. So as soon as you put a physical sunscreen on, it is protecting your skin. And in addition, physical sunscreens have UVA protection, and I'm going to go into that again some more in a minute. Cons for physical sunscreens. Cons. The white cast. Again, physical sunscreens have a white cast. Some are worse than others, and they are making some more sunscreens that are more cosmetically elegant, as they call it. So it's getting better, but there are definitely some that are very, very casty. It's more difficult to wear under makeup because it sets on the skin, and especially if you have the proper amount of sunscreen on your face, makeup can just slide right off your face, and it's not cool. So physical sunscreens also can rub off. Since they are setting on top of the skin, if you rub your skin a lot, it can rub off. Those are the pros and cons of physical and chemical sunscreens. Next, we're going to go into certain ingredients. I told you I was going to let you know which ingredients are UVA protectors. Let's break down some of the ingredients. So physical, simple, there are two. They are titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. So if you see one or both of these ingredients only on the list, it is a physical sunscreen. Super simple. There are also sunscreens that are combination that will have physical and chemical ingredients. Okay, so as I'm talking about these ingredients, I'm gonna put the names of them on the screen. Probably here. Let's scoot over. Here we go. We'll put them here because some of these are weird. I'm actually gonna go ahead and put the list of them. So there's avobenzone. I'm just gonna mention a couple of them there, but I will write down all the ones that I am aware of on screen. Avobenzone is a very common one. Octinoxate, octocrylene, octisalate, octibenzone. Those are some of the main ones that you see in US sunscreens. Now, European, Korean, there are some additional ingredients. I will put those separate down here that are found in those sunscreens. There are a lot more ingredients in the European and Korean market, but I've just found a few of them, so I'll put those on there as well. So UVA protection for US sunscreen users. Titanium dioxide and zinc oxide physical sunscreens do provide UVA protection. Now, from what I have gathered, there are 2 ingredients, again, this is in US sunscreens, that block 100% UVA rays. Now, I'm just saying this is what I have discovered while doing my research. One of them is zinc oxide. In the UVA spectrum, there's UVA1 and UVA2. Zinc oxide covers both of them. So if you were to pick one ingredient that would just be good for you, zinc oxide covers UVA 1, 2, and UVB. So that ingredient alone is broad spectrum. So that's something to look for if you're wanting a physical sunscreen or a combination sunscreen. Avobenzone is a good one to know that you're getting UVA protection. Another one that is UVA, this is only UVA2 protection, is in capsule. That's your UVA protection. Now the problem with avobenzone, like I said, it is not a stable ingredient. As soon as light touches it, it starts to break down. There are ways of stabilizing avobenzone, but again, they're still trying to perfect this part. But here are some things to look for that are stabilizers of avobenzone. Octocrylene, I'm gonna have to write that one on here because I can't read my own handwriting. And then octinoxate. There's one particular concoction that Neutrogena has, I don't know if trademark's the right word, but it's called Helioplex, and it's avobenzone, oxybenzone, and DEHN, and that is a stable version of avobenzone. So if you're using the Neutrogena Helioplex SPF whatever, I have the 100+, that is a stabilized version of avobenzone, which has UVA protection. Okay. Whew. So I have mentioned all of these ingredients, and I'm going to talk about the potentially hazardous ones at the end. With all of that information, what do you do with it? How do you pick a sunscreen that is right for you? Things to consider. Your skin type, your daily sun exposure, how much sun you're actually getting per day, and your reasons for wearing sunscreen. If your main concern is anti-aging and skin cancer, you really do need to be wearing a daily sunscreen. There are also other ways of protecting your skin. Sunscreen is just something you use when you cannot avoid the sun or cover your skin. So tip number 1, avoid prolonged sun exposure. Don't go out in the sun for a long time unless you have to. Wear protective clothing. I know that it's hot. I live in Texas, it's hot. But if you can, wear lightweight long sleeves, wear a hat that covers you, try to stay in the shade instead of direct sunlight. There are things you can do to help reduce your exposure. So when you're picking a sunscreen, if you have sensitive skin, you might need to try physical sunscreens. If you're concerned with your makeup application, a physical sunscreen may not work because it's too heavy, it doesn't soak into the skin. And then basically all the things I've said about the pros and cons of physical and chemical sunscreens, pick which one you think is gonna work for your skin best, and then when you're looking for a sunscreen, look at the ingredient list. If it's titanium dioxide or zinc oxide, that means it's physical. If it has other ingredients too, it's a combination. But think of your particular needs and pick one that's best for you. So for me personally, I've been using the Drunk Elephant Number Sheer. It's SPF 30. And again, going back to the SPF, if you know that you're not going to apply near the appropriate amount, get a higher SPF to cover your butt. Get a higher SPF. Just know that even if it's SPF 100, which means you can stay in the sun for 1,000 minutes, is that right, math? That doesn't mean you don't have to reapply. I really hate that the way the SPF says calculates where you can stay out in the sun that long, because it wears off before that time. So In my sunscreen video part 2, I'm going to be doing some testing of sunscreens with a UV camera. Now my husband is still currently trying to turn one of my DSLRs into a UV camera, so fingers crossed that that goes well and we can actually get this done. But I'm going to actually test them under UV camera so you can see how it covers, and then I'm going to test them for how long they cover and all of that stuff, different types of sunscreens. So that's going to be coming hopefully in the near future. But yes, just know that you are not protected, especially if you think about a chemical sunscreen that starts to break down. Avobenzone is going to break down in an hour or two. It's not going to last you all day long. There are sunscreens in powder form and setting sprays. Now these are not strong enough to be your only sunscreen, but to reapply in the middle of the day, it does add some protection. So again, I'm going to be testing those under the UV to see how much protection, but we'll get to that in the next video. Okay, I'm going to talk about hazardous ingredients. Is sunscreen harmful to you or the environment? Short answer, I don't know. Okay, so let's start with the whole Hawaii thing. So evidently oxybenzone is the one that's being banned. There may be another one. I'm gonna put it on the screen if there is. But anyways, this is the ones that are banned in Hawaii. Evidently a little bitty bit of that can cause the bleaching in the coral reefs. Therefore, these ingredients will be banned starting, I believe, in 2021. So yeah, I can definitely see that there's some effects on the environment. I also saw a study that was done years ago that showed titanium dioxide and zinc oxide were killing microorganisms in the water too. So, but I haven't really heard anybody talking about that. So there are effects, yes. I personally don't go in the ocean, so. But as to the effects to you personally, there was a study done recently that showed that some of these chemicals are showing up in the bloodstream. So chemical sunscreens that go onto the skin are getting into the bloodstream. So what does this mean? Okay, first of all, in this study, I'm gonna write the specifications or whatever right here. There was, I believe they had like a certain percentage of their body had to be covered with a sunscreen, and again, properly applied, so it has to be a ton of sunscreen every so many hours of the day, like you're supposed to. And I think it was for like 4 days they tested. So basically drenching your body in sunscreen all day long, every day. It appeared into the bloodstream. So most people don't put that much sunscreen on, 1. 2, this study did not show that these chemicals have any effect on the body. They just show that they are appearing in the bloodstream. So we don't have enough information to say whether this is harmful or not. They just haven't had the time yet to have long-term studies done to know if these ingredients are harmful. If you go over to Dr. Dre's YouTube channel, she talks about sunscreen a lot. Very passionate about sunscreen. But I do believe she did a video kind of analyzing this study. So if you want to know more scientifically what this means, go to her channel and watch that video. But basically she concluded that the risks of not wearing sunscreen outweigh the risks of wearing sunscreen. Basically, there's a greater chance of you having skin cancer from not wearing sunscreen than to have any kind of problems from the ingredients. Take this information and do with it what you will. Again, everybody has a different opinion on this. Everybody believes differently. So I want you to take this information and do what's best for you. I personally have started wearing sunscreen. I didn't used to wear it every day, but now I think that if you do all this skincare and anti-aging stuff, I think the #1 skincare thing you can do is sunscreen. Wear sunscreen every day religiously. I'm gonna leave it at that. I think that I've covered everything I was going to. All right guys, so again, part 2 will be coming. I don't know when, but it will be coming. Even if he destroys my DSLR, we have a backup plan. It won't be as high resolution. What's that? It won't be as high resolution, but it will be, we do have a backup plan. But guys, that wraps up this video. If you have any questions, if I said anything that doesn't make sense or said anything that you need clarification on, please leave it in the comments below. I don't want any misinformation, and if I said something wrong, I do want to be corrected, okay? For other people to know. So have a conversation in the comment section, and I would also personally love to know what your favorite sunscreen is to wear every day. Let me know that, because I'm testing out new sunscreens. And if you want a specific sunscreen tested in part 2, Also leave that in the comments below. I'm super excited to start testing sunscreens. I need my camera. Hurry up, Daniel. Okay guys, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did like this, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you want to see future videos, hit that subscribe button down below. And I will see you guys next time. Stay gorgeous. Bye. I feel like I'm talking 90 miles an hour and I can't stop. Get drunk elephant. Oh, I feel like I'm just reading you off information. This is boring. What's the word? I can't talk right now. Like, slow down. I'm trying to get all this information now and I'm just like nervous. Okay. And exactly a proper amount. Blah, blah, blah. And it, yes. Was that right? Okay. Hope I'm explaining all this correctly, like where it makes sense. Okay. Addition, UVA. I need to slow down. Those are the main three things. So the UVAs cause long skin damage. Duh.